I'm Nicole, back here with you all for our final installation, and Jackie, as you all know from our times together, and Leslie in the background helping us with all the back end technical support. So good to see you all here. We can go to the next slide, and we did comb through your general responses for those of them that got completed already. Some themes that came up here, just to highlight some of the repeated themes: importance of and challenges associated with including caregivers, developmental adaptations, safety planning versus suicide contracting, need to assess and plan on an ongoing basis, how to transition between assessing and safety planning, engaging reluctant youth in the safety planning process, and importance of assessing for gun access and safety, lethal means. Yeah. So these themes came up. A lot of these are going to bridge very nicely, and we're going to go deeper into today in our discussion hour. So thank you all for sharing your thoughts in those spaces. And we can go to the next slide. So our first activity, while we're here together, we're going to ask for you all to think about some challenging situations or factors that you may encounter in safety planning. So thinking about the content you all reviewed, thinking about the work we've been doing in the past, just in terms of crisis and safety. What are some challenges that come up? What we'd like you to do, this is going to be a little bit of a build of an activity. So think about what challenges come up. Chat in your responses to the chat. We're going to use the chat feature to collect what your thoughts are, what your responses are. And then once all the responses have been submitted, we're going to give you guys a couple minutes to chat them in. We're going to have you all vote on the top kind of challenges that resonate with you. And maybe it's your own, maybe it's someone else's, but you have 2 votes. And we're going to ask you to use the thumbs up emoji reaction button to vote. So excellent. Maria's got one in: clients or families who are resistant. Thank you, Maria. Sarah's got reactive, unsupportive caregivers in response to safety issues. Low urgency when not an acute crisis. And Barbara chatted in: kids who are reluctant for us to share with parents, and our parents who are dismissive. Absolutely. All right, we got a vote coming in there. Thank you for voting already. All right, Matthew's got introducing the idea of safety plan and having clients sign off on it. It just feels stilted and formal. Yeah, like checking off the box, right? Wait list for resources, especially when we have kids who are in higher risk categories, right? Like higher needs, and there's a wait list to get them connected to that higher level of care. What do you do to bridge that gap? That's huge, Joseph. Stephanie Westman: youth are smart and savvy. I've had parents lock up medications and sharps, but the youth orders pills and honey knives from Amazon. So create the workarounds and how to address some of these, for lack of a better word, creative ways that youth find means and access to means. Agree with reluctance of children, youth wanting to disclose triggers. Yeah, so like difficulty engaging, difficulty getting, the buy-in and the interaction from the young person. Excellent. Okay, I'm seeing a slowdown of responses. So what I'm going to ask, oh, perfect. Danielle's got one more: minimization of safety concerns. So kind of like that dismissiveness we heard and minimization. So what I'd like everyone to do now, do you think, Jackie, that's enough time, that we've got enough responses in there, you think? Yeah.
Yes, I think
Okay.
so. I imagine, I think that, think about what you maybe had, any questions that you had afterwards that maybe you feel like, or ideas about like what would make this hard, that maybe haven't come up. But I think that everyone already has it in there. So yes, go through, you have 2 votes, and you can vote for your own, but also then use the thumbs up to vote for other people. And you're going to do that using the little emoji reaction button. If you are having trouble doing that, please, you can feel free to unmute and let us know what yours is, or you can also say, like, using the chat, I agree with, and then say the person's name who put it in. Like, I agree with Stephanie, I agree with Danielle, I agree with Kamala. So,
And just some context for y'all, we're going to comb through and collect what your top votes are, and that's going to inform our next step of this activity. So bear
yes.
with us while we're trying to do this kind of interactive live
Yes.
activity.
Yes, we are. This is sort of a new way of doing this for us. we wanted to it's sort of like a in the moment poll as opposed to a pre-prepared poll. Okay, I'm going to give everybody another minute to think about and go through. Again, you have 2 votes. So looks like Barbara, it might be currently, Barbara and Joseph are on Danielle.
Danielle, yep, we got 5 for Danielle, 5 for Joseph.
Who's going to be our class president, guys?
7 for Barbara.
Okay, great.
And then I think we're gonna have space for a couple more after that too, Jackie. So maybe we can go with like the,
Yeah, we can go through some other ones as well.
depending on, conversation. Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I'm going to, so we had our top one was kids reluctant to share with caregivers.
Kids who are reluctant to for us. So I'm thinking for providers, Barbara, chime in if we're misunderstanding, but kids who are reluctant for us to share with parents and or parents who are dismissive. So maybe we break it out into 2 challenges with that, Jackie?
Yes.
Kids who are reluctant.
I think that also is kind of reactive, unsupportive caregivers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is kind of similar to that. And then
Do wait lists for resources is it's 5.
okay, yes.
5 votes.
Wait list for resources or just lack of resources, I would say as well, right? Sometimes it's not just there's a wait list, but it just doesn't exist. And then
Minimization of safety concerns.
do you want to do that for was that for parents?
But maybe we add it and we can ask each one if we need more.
Yeah,
details.
minimization.
Yeah.
Great. Minimization of safety concerns. No worries, Deirdre. Welcome. We are just talking about challenges, common challenges for effectively utilizing safety plans. Minimization of safety concerns. And then
We do a 5th, maybe I'm seeing a lot of, let's see, we got votes for 3. That's low urgency.
oh yeah, maybe well, we have both react. Oh no, we have what was the sort of kids getting around?
Yeah, they created so youth are
like
smart and
trouble.
savvy. I have parents who have had lockup medication and sheriffs, but the youth order pills and honey knives from Amazon.
Okay, great. Trouble limiting access to means is what I'm gonna. Okay. And I'm gonna number these because we're about to break you out into groups. And we're gonna have each of your groups tackle one of these concerns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. So you'll be, if you're in group 1, you're going to be brainstorming solutions to what you have when you have a young person who is reluctant to share this plan with their caregiver. So that's going to be so for those in group 1, that's what you are going to be brainstorming solutions to. So how do you deal with this challenge? Group 2, you are going to be talking about parents who are reactive and or unsupportive of the safety plan. Group 3, you're going to be talking about how you navigate when there's a wait list for resources or a lack of resources. Group 4, you'll be talking about what to do when there's a minimization of safety concerns. And group 5, you'll be talking about how you limit access to means. Fantastic. Thank you for putting that in the chat, Nicole. So you'll be going out to your groups in a second. We're going to just send you out randomly. So hopefully you'll end up in a group. We wanted to know, so I want to just say before we send you out into groups, thank you all so much for how incredibly thoughtful you were in your evaluation responses. I swear, like, I don't think I've ever had a group that has been so great about giving thoughtful responses. I just cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. So I just wanted to let you know, thank you for that. And one of the things that people talked about is wanting to have like really interactive groups. So we are going to be sending you out into breakout groups. I know that there have been times where there are people who are sort of, off camera, or they're not necessarily engaging. If that happens and you're feeling frustrated, please just message us in the room, and one of us will come in and we can try to sort of get the conversation going. Because sometimes we know people get distracted, a client walks in, a colleague is whatever in the office, so we understand things happen, but we want to make sure everyone gets a lot out of this experience. Questions before we send you out. You're going to have about, what did we say, Nicole? 10 minutes?
Looking back at the back. We're doing 8.
8 minutes.
8
Okay.
minutes.
8-ish minutes. Great.
Yeah.
So we'll have you come back around 12:20, 12:21. So we'll see you in a little bit. And again, any questions, just always chat to us. You all are so great. I'm so sad this is our last discussion hour. I just love hearing all of the amazing things that work that you are and the wisdom that you're bringing to this. It's really, really valuable. Okay. We are going to hear from your groups, and we're going to put this on a document together. And when we're going to post these slides to the website, so you all will have this as like a reference, so that you're sort of creating a tool for each other, which I think is kind of cool. So let's hear from group 1. What were some solutions you all thought of when you're thinking about for young people who are reluctant to share the plan with their caregiver?
So our group was talking a little bit about how to best explain it to parents and educating, but also trying to probe and understand where the client's coming from as to why they don't want to share this information. And there becomes a point within the session where it might take a turn where you cross this line where it's no longer the client session, because if they have open themselves up to sharing about suicidal ideation or a plan, and they're unwilling to share this safety plan with other adults or trusted people, it then becomes, the clinician's responsibility to say, listen, I can't comfortably end this session without us figuring out a plan to make sure that you're safe, especially over a telehealth platform too, because you don't know where they are.
And I think you said also transparency, or maybe what were you saying? Explaining to the young person how you would introduce it to the parent, or explaining to the parent in a specific way?
Both. So how you explain a safety plan or risk assessment and how it's conducted with a parent, as well as how you're explaining it to the client or the student or whoever, your client is, about how you would be sharing this information and why you would be sharing it. So the importance of understanding like why it's important for these people to know what the plan is.
Oh yeah, for
We also
caregivers.
we also talked a little bit about trying to educate the parents. There are lots of parents or caregivers out there that they don't know that self-injury is not a part of becoming suicidal. So, sort of explaining that self-injury is not part of a process getting to suicide necessarily, that there's so many differences. And so what they're looking at, panics them at first, but if they can take a breath, then everybody can calm down, and making it clear to, the person who is struggling that in fact, giving the caregiver some information actually may cause them to be less doting and feel like they're smothering them a little bit or taking over. And, that's in everybody's best interest.
Amazing. Amazing. Anything else, group 1? I don't know if you can see well. Oh wait, am I not sharing my screen?
Yeah, I was just about to ask you to put it back up, Jackie. Yeah.
I forgot to do that. Sorry. I was like, look at that. Does that look right to you? Okay, no, that's great. Now it's there. Okay. So group 1, I just recorded what you all said. I'm wondering if there's anything else that I missed or that you would like to add to that. Okay. Group 2. I'd love to hear from you all.
This is one of my challenges that always scares me to the point where I really need to take a step back and regulate my own emotions. So, I mean, the parents, especially of a younger child, are very influential in the child's life. And if they're engaging in concerning behaviors, reluctant to implement any safety recommendations, it's a real concern. So one of the things we talked about was just validation of how the parents might feel. Sometimes, looking at it from a CBT point of view, I know Sarah kind of pointed this out, that children can be very impulsive. Teenagers can be impulsive. That's the reality. So you're looking at it from a developmental point of view and how to reduce that risk of impulsive, serious behaviors.
I also love what you started with, Donna, about checking in with yourself. Like you just to that level of awareness of this is something with facing parents who are reactive or unsupportive, like you have a reaction to that. And so to regulate yourself, to check in with where you are so that you can then, make an informed decision about how you're intervening and pulling
Yeah.
parents and providing
Yeah.
the next level. So I think that's a really
Yeah.
important call out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of on this similar vein about feelings and reactions, we talked a bit about being able to accept or come to a place of what's the minimum we need for an engagement from a caregiver versus what's the optimal response. Like, of course, we would love for a parent to be supportive and warm, but sometimes the best we can get is the logistical ability to keep a child safe. And so being able to kind of operate and move from that space can be important too.
Yeah, working with what's in front of you, working with the tools that are available, being realistic about that. Thank you, Sarah. Jackie, you're doing great with
Thank
getting
you.
this all down.
I appreciate that I'm glad you're jumping in because
Yeah. That's a lot to, yeah.
talking and typing at the same time, challenging.
Yes,
Okay, great.
you
Fantastic.
captured it. All right, so this was a hot one. Well, these are all you guys all voted for these. So, but this one stood out to me too. Just wait list for resources, lack of resources. What do you do? So I'm really curious. Group 3, what did you come up with? What have y'all done in these situations? Because we know this is real. This is not a made up challenge. This is we all face this. Group 3, what did y'all come up with?
So we definitely found this to be a challenging one to answer because there aren't a lot of great answers.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily because we provide direct services, we have some control at least over what happens in our programs. So we were each kind of talking about how our program handles, especially high risk cases, that we can prioritize them and make sure that they get seen right away, as opposed to like, referrals come in that are for things that are less high risk. Unfortunately, those guys may have to wait a little longer, but that way when we get a suicidal client in, we can see them right away, do the safety assessment, safety planning. And then of course, after we do all of that, we can know even more clearly how much they need to be prioritized. Corey was in our group and he had said that his program is short-term, and once if he knows that they're going to be able to transfer to a longer term program that maybe there's a little bit of a wait for, he said that they can sometimes hold on to those cases a little bit longer, which is great. We talked about like just making sure clients have hotline numbers, because that's sort of a more immediate resource that they can use, at least as like a short-term or an immediate help in between waiting for services.
Right. Great.
Definitely, like, I know our program also has and I think most of the programs have sort of a list of other programs that can be explored as options, because every once in a while there's one program that has no wait list or a short wait list. So making sure that we give clients and parents alternatives that they can look into to see if those are shorter lists.
I'm gonna write this down because I remember we talked about developing and maintaining relationships when I was
Yeah.
HR.
Yeah.
Great.
Um,
Thank you, Barbara. I love the, something I would do is advocate, get creative, right, with bridges if possible. It sounds like y'all talked about that as well. Like if there, and we work within systems that's not always possible. Sometimes it's a hard and fast end date. The case has to close because of they've reached their maximum number of sessions for a high risk or, interim level of care. But if there are ways to advocate for bridges between or flexibility about keeping a case open with sessions before they can get admitted to the next level of care. I'm hearing y'all came up with that as well. And Daisy's chatting in. I would also add calling 988 for mobile crisis team involvement. Right, mobile crisis is there. It can be a way to get an assessment and someone for a team to get eyes on that individual, that family, get connection to support if needed. So thank you, Daisy. Amazing. Okay, thank you, group 3. We are
Okay.
fine. Let's go to group 4. Minimization of safety concerns. This group had a lot that they thought about in regards to caregivers. So I don't know who wants to share from group 4.
I took a few notes so I can share out a little bit. I think reality testing came up for both the individual and the caregivers. So if there's minimization for the individual, asking, have other people noted concerns about this? Does it scare you at all? What is, maybe a use of self, saying, I'm concerned about some of the things I'm hearing and I want you to be safe. And then for parents or caregivers, if they have this came up in other comments, whether it be foster care or school settings, other settings, parents may say, child is used to this, talking a big game, but doesn't really ever take any action on it. And often the problem is parents making it about themselves. Will they be inconvenienced by putting away access to means? Will they? And so one solution could be of seeing if there are other caregivers available who are more willing to engage in the process. And then with a minimization about attention seeking, reframing it and asking if this is indeed a way of seeking attention, what are they trying to communicate by doing this, either self-harm or expressing the ideation? What is they're trying to express that maybe they don't feel okay saying through words? Because it's ultimately a parent's responsibility to care for their child.
Thank you, Matthew.
Sorry, Matthew, that was so good, and I'm trying to.
Sorry, I went very fast there.
No, you did not.
It's rich. It's very, yeah.
It's rich, and then I hesitated over word choice and then got lost. It wasn't, we didn't say selecting the caregiver. It was sort of like engage.
Yeah, engaging select caregivers who might be more willing to participate in the safety planning, maybe are more, maybe more attuned or more open, if those resources, if those supports are there. Yeah. Is that, Matthew, am I conveying that correctly?
Yes, I believe so. That was another of our members. I'm sorry, I've forgotten her name. That was another note from another member, but I think that I wrote down close to verbatim as possible.
Right.
Yeah, and the thing with reality testing, I believe, is that with minimization, is that that's often a reaction to how commonplace this has become for an individual. So there's a normalization that happens. And if someone's used to living with thought patterns, or if they're used to living with this expression through self-harm, then it can become minimized even as maybe it gets more severe.
And maybe there's room, I think we talked a little bit about the psychoeducation that can come with that. How do you also share that with the caregiver or even with the young person, right? Of like these are the patterns and how we can kind of be desensitized to how serious these risks are. So that's great, Matthew. Thank you. Okay, these are fantastic. These are going to be great for everyone's future reference. Our last group So this, you know, that for youth who are creatively accessing means that could be harmful or lethal, what did y'all come up with as ways to try to intercept or, you know, intervene in those situations? This is group 5, yeah.
So we talked a lot about being able to teach families how to maybe do room checks or backpack checks, but then additionally it came, you know, support them through that, talking to kids about how their behaviors have demonstrated that they're not acting in a safe way, and therefore their world gets a little bit smaller, and we have to check to make sure that they're being safe. But then, you know, we talked about also really looking at skill building. We didn't get into the specifics because the conversation was going pretty well, but basically, like, you got to talk to a kid about, like, all right, well, then let's play this through. One way to do that is, okay, you're not here anymore. What does that mean? What does the rest of the world look like without you? But then, you know, also talking about harm reduction means, and, you know, using different skills and building lists of, you know, how to use your DBT skills of riding out that wave of the urge to do something. Or if you can't talk to a parent or a friend, using 988, using, there are peer advocates sometimes available. There are, you know, just helping them realize that there are additional services available, even if they're not in the home, right? You got to pick up your phone. There are text lines and things like that. So, and
Right.
please, anybody else jump in if I missed anything.
I appreciate that, you know, that you're pulling from empowering the families, the caregivers, the supports who are there, as well as empowering the youth with tools that you've used in your interventions and tools you've, you know, equipped them with, and how to reinforce what may be in their safety plan, right? And how to revisit that. It sounds like these things probably are identified in safety plan, and how to revisit them when they are continuing to try to access means despite protective measures being put in place. Any other items or thoughts from group 5? And thank you, Stephanie. I think that was Stephanie talking. So thank you for chatting in. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you,
Great.
Jackie, for taking notes for all that. That
No,
was a
this is
lot.
great. And we'll be putting this on the website, so you'll all have access to this. Yeah, I think this is really great. I really want to thank you all. So we have about 20 minutes left, which you all just had a lot of richness here. So what we heard from some of you that you really wanted to do role playing, and then we heard from others of you that you really did not want to do role playing. So what we're going to do as a way of trying to bridge this, and we're going to have to do it a little bit more abbreviated because we only have 20 minutes left, is that Nicole and I are going to take the hit for those of you who don't want to role play. What we're going to do is Nicole and I are going to role play, and you all are going to be our coaches. So this is a way of sort of like seeing this in action, but without necessarily having to role play for those of you who are not wanting to do that. We're going to be doing our case, Amanda. So just as a reminder of the information about her, this is not much new. I did give her caregivers names. That's new information, I guess. But other than that, and you know, I gave some a little background about her family. They're white, solidly middle class. Parents are married and both employees. We do know already that she has frequent verbal altercations with her parents, and that they feel ill-equipped to support their daughter. We already know pretty much a lot of this information, that she's dating her first ever girlfriend, recent self-isolation. We know that she's been in therapy now for about 4 months after she was referred because of the non-suicidal self-injury. I sort of, you know, we talked about her affect is somewhat flat, depressed mood. We talked about her parents have said she's irritable, she's cooperative in session, but can be reluctant to share. And these statements, again, we've heard before, that she just doesn't feel like being around anyone anymore, and that she doesn't want to get everyone all freaked out if she says the wrong thing. So Nicole and I are going to begin role playing a safety plan. We're going to go for about 10 minutes, or probably even less than that, actually, because we want to have time to discuss. Nicole, how do you want to do this given the time constraint?
Well, and just to clarify, we're gonna role play and then break for feedback from y'all as our coaches. So we're gonna role play for like maybe about 2 minutes, right, Jackie? And then we'll ask for feedback from you all, like,
Yes.
and to be frank, I'm gonna be the therapist, and I'm not gonna do a great job, but I'm gonna leave it open for y'all to give me feedback, and I want you to be honest and constructive and supportive as coaches of what could be better. And Jackie will be Amanda. So why don't we start with an intro of the safety plan? We also know from our last discussion hour, right? Amanda had a risk assessment done, some kind of probably the Columbia suicide scale was done. And because the Columbia suicide scale was done, me as a therapist has to do a safety plan because that's part of my job and maybe my agency policy is I have to do it. So we're gonna, since we've heard that from some of y'all, we're gonna use that as kind of those are the triggering events for why we're here doing a safety plan. So why don't we start with the intro, Jackie, of Amanda, I should say.
Yes. So as you're watching us, please think through what is not working well. Again, Nicole's going to show us a little bit the wrong way to do things. What might you do differently? And then for those of you who really did want to role play, if you want to jump in when we pause and show us the right way to do it, we would invite you to do that. Yeah. Okay. So getting in character.
Okay, me too. I'll stay with my name. My name is Nicole, but I'll be.
My name is Amanda.
You're Amanda now. Okay, great. Should we say action? We should say
Action. Yeah.
Action. Okay, Amanda, it's good to see you again today. We've been talking a lot about how you've been feeling, and because of my job being your therapist and making sure you're safe, I want to do a safety plan with you. Have you ever done a safety plan before?
I don't know. What's a safety plan?
Great question. So it is a kind of like it's like a sheet that we'll look at and we'll just kind of like fill it out and talk about ways that you can stay safe when we're not together and what you can do when you're not feeling so good.
I don't know. I think that my school counselor did something like that with me. It just sort of felt kind of stupid. Like, I don't really understand what the purpose was, and it didn't feel like it was actually going to be useful.
Yeah. They're not always like the most helpful, but because like I am your therapist, we have to do it. So could we give it a try?
I guess we have to do it. Have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cut.
But okay. What are some things that Nicole might do differently? Or maybe I want to always say like there's probably some positives in everything, right? So if there's things that you felt like she did well, feel free to name that too. But what are some things Nicole could have done differently? Donna.
Yeah,
Bring it on.
certainly not saying we have to do it, and you acted as if it was, oh God, I have to do this again. Stop. So,
Right.
It's
Nice.
not Amanda's job. It's not Amanda's job to make sure that Nicole fills out all of the paperwork necessary.
that's right.
Mhm.
I think after saying that, I think you lost her within like the first
Right?
like 1 minute. It's like, okay, like I don't give a crap about any of this anymore. I'm done. Because it was totally minimized. Like, oh, it's just something we have to do. It's just paperwork. I don't really care about your safety. It's just paperwork.
Is anybody willing? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was also gonna say, when you responded, Jackie, like, I believe I've done that before and I didn't find it to be useful. I think that would have been a great way to come in and say, well, you know what? We're going to tailor it for you. So you're going to bring input so that we together can find out what will work in your favor, like something like that, so that she's taking back the power to figure out I can outline it and maybe I can make it work for me because I'll keep it in the mental.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love that. And I was going to ask if anyone wanted to show us what it looked like. Great, you already did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
One of the things that I tell kids when we're trying to engage, because we have to do a safety plan or grab it from the therapist, would be, this really helps me learn more about you and how I might be able to help you build on the skills that have already been working, and what's not, we can maybe tweak it. So I sometimes turn it around and say, you know what, this is going to be a way for me to get to know how to help you better.
Love
Love
that. Thanks, Stephanie.
And
Okay.
oh,
Oh, sorry.
sorry, I was just gonna say, I always also like to give some psycho ed just around the fact that this is really designed like with lots of research that's been done, and it's really been proven to be a helpful resource for kids. Like so that they can see that we really buy into it, that we recognize that it's a helpful thing, not just as something we have to do, but that it's, it's really based on research and a lot of testing, and it's been proven to be helpful. And then, like Maria was saying, it also is something that, we're going to tailor to you. We're going to make it so that it works for you. I think that's,
Yeah, if you don't believe in it, why are they going to believe in it?
Right. I love that. I love the psychoeducation idea and like the empowerment, right? Like the transparency. This has been shown to work. It's a tool that's in my toolbox. I want to share it with you. And maybe you've done it before, but you haven't done it with me. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what we could do, and we'll make it really work. I love the tone you used too, Maria, of like, but we're gonna make it work for you. Like it's gonna be something that is different than what you've done before. So yeah, excellent. Okay, should we do another bit,
Yeah,
Jackie?
we're gonna jump. We're not gonna do this linearly just because we don't have time to do that. Why don't we jump to the support person part? So just to remind folks, this is what the safety plan that Dr. Westers talked about in the webinar. So this is the one that we're sort of using as our guide. I know that everyone will have their own that their organization uses. A lot of them are based on the like Stanley Brown one. Thanks for nodding, Danielle. But this is one we're using in our, and yes, Nicole just linked it in the chat.
I'm gonna link another one also that has images, which might be more, helpful for younger kids too, but they're both in the chat for y'all's reference. Okay.
So let's jump to the next section.
So we're pretending the other parts have been filled out, y'all. So we've gotten through planning ahead. We're in the safety plan section, step 2, with someone, maybe, or tell someone like who are the supports Amanda has. Okay. And are you in character, Jackie?
Yes.
Or Amanda? Okay. And
Solid.
action. Okay, so Amanda, we talked about what you can do on your own. If you're by yourself, how you can really, deal with these feelings and these thoughts of wanting to hurt yourself. I'm wondering, this next part says, what could you do with somebody? Like things you could do with a family or a friend member or family or a friend to help you deal with these feelings and these thoughts. I'm thinking of obviously your parents, right? Like your mom and your dad, we should add them.
I don't know, like if I go to them, they're just gonna freak out. They just freak out about everything. My dad just gets mad and annoyed, and my mom just like starts getting all like weepy or like, and then they're just gonna like, I don't know, then they're gonna go to you and then you're gonna send me to the hospital. And like, honestly, that's just the last thing I want.
Right.
So I don't know, man.
Right. But they are your parents. So like they do have to know if you're not feeling safe. So I think we should add them. Maybe what if we just put them in the tell someone section instead of with someone? Like maybe you could tell them.
Sure.
Great. Okay. What could you, other than telling, is there like anyone you could, like a friend or someone you could just be able to cool down with or check in with?
I don't know. Like Maya and I aren't really like talking right now, so I don't really feel like I do have anybody, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. Well, who are some of the other friends that you used to hang out with? Maybe like they would want to hear from you if you're having a hard time.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't really feel like they would want to talk about this kind of stuff.
Well, we could try. Should we just try?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, fit. Cut. Okay.
I'm aware that we only have 10 minutes left, so I want to make sure you all have, we had such a rich discussion before, so we don't want to, we know that this is sort of getting a little cut short, but we want to make sure you have some. So yeah, let's give Nicole some final feedback, what she could have done differently. Or what she did well. Again, we can always bring in some positives. Yeah.
Wait,
Sarah,
Lynn's-
go ahead.
Oh yeah, Sarah, go for it.
I was just gonna share that hopefully prior to this as a therapist, if it's not the first meeting, you've already talked about confidentiality with the client. And so typically when I take out the safety plan, I'll point out from the beginning that the bottom has a place at our organization and in this example for both the therapist, the client, and the parent to sign. And that when we're finished completing this, I need to share with the parent. And usually I get a response similar to that. I ask what they're worried about. They say they're worried they're going to get in trouble. And I kind of go into a spiel about how this is something I do. I work with other teens who have these feelings. And when I meet with mom, I'm going to or dad or grandma or grandpa, let them know that you're not in trouble, that you've done something really great by telling us how you feel. And usually I don't have a teen who's like, yes, I am so in love with the fact that you're going to tell my parent. But I do try to introduce some element of choice by saying, would you like to be in the room while we speak? Or would you want me to talk to the parent first and then bring you in at the end? Again, they almost always choose talk to the parent alone, but I can at least introduce some feeling of choice when they're feeling like I'm not giving them a choice and letting their parent know.
Love that, Sarah.
Yeah, that's great. Any other thoughts?
I'm
Yeah.
seeing Lynn's comment too in the chat. You can always state, you can contact me, like the therapist. I mean, hopefully a therapist with solid rapport, and that would also come up like maybe naturally that the client, the youth would say like, well, I could come to you, or I could reach out to you, or a youth advocate if there's someone that's connected to the young person that they could appear, they could talk to, or
I think it was, totally ignored when Amanda seemed very reluctant when you started talking about parents. Well, obviously your parents. Well, I don't think she necessarily agreed with that. And not all kids really have very supportive parents. Maybe there's grandma or grandpa, or maybe there's aunt or uncle or cousin or something along the, and if there's just an assumption that they are supportive, they very well might not be. So it was like a lot of assumptions and a little pushy, pushy about it, not taking the time to explore that a little bit more. Well, they're your parents, they have to know. Well, instead of let's explore that some more.
Right.
And I would say the same with her friends. She said she didn't think her friends would want to talk about that. And well, can you try? Can you try?
Right.
Well, maybe she don't want to try because yeah. So same kind of reaction that maybe there's that was a little
It
too.
felt a bit like it was more of Nicole's safety plan.
right? Like I was just trying to get it done. I was going with the obvious. There's really no creative exploration of getting outside the box, which is so much of how we make these individualized, is really having to think creatively, not the obvious answers necessarily. And I was doing a lot of leading, right? I was leading her
Which is easy to do when there's a teenager or a preteen or whatever that is just kind of like, I don't know, right? Like that's a really easy thing to do, is to like, you start suggesting things and, and suggesting can lead into leading. And I think that, so it's sometimes a really delicate balance between like, how do you, and that's why, again, ideally you already have a relationship with the person. So you maybe know things about their life that you can sort of pull from, but that also is not necessarily the things that they want to be on the plan. And so trying to really, get it from them as much as possible, but it can be really tough when you have a kid that is just like, no, there's no one.
And she's not going to tell her parents just because you put it on there, right? Like it's not her plan.
Right. No. Yeah, absolutely. Any other things, especially like suggestions for how to navigate maybe when, a kid is like, well, I don't have anybody, or can't think of anyone that I want to put on my plan?
I was just gonna suggest something that we do, because we do come across this a lot where we get these kids going, I don't have anybody to talk to, is we do offer ourselves. We have an on-call. And then we do a separate worksheet that's, somebody showed it to me. It's on my therapistaid.com.
Yeah.
And it's a worksheet on increasing protective factors. And one of it is talking about networks, right?
Love that.
So it's like, you know what, maybe we don't have anybody right now, but I'm always willing to be your person for now, or the program, right? And then what about if we take some time during other sessions to kind of work on developing that network? Whether using that, you know, form on therapistaid.com, which I like, or not, but just like, okay, you know what? We can figure this out together. Maybe we won't solve it today.
Well, maybe that
Yeah.
informs a treatment plan too, right?
Mhm.
Maybe that's
Yep.
part of, that brings it back to the treatment, not just this crisis, but what are we working on here in this space to improve resiliency and protective factors and, right, building your network, having other people you can go to. That's great, Deirdre. Thank you. And
Yeah.
hotlines, Maria's mentioning hotlines, or people at school, Sarah said as well.
I love that what you're saying, Sarah, also is that like, okay, you don't necessarily have to go and tell them that you're feeling suicidal. Like, can you just also just connect with someone? Can you go talk to them about a movie? Can you go talk to them about, you know, whatever is going on in your, like something else, just to feel connected with someone, not necessarily like, this is someone I'm going to go tell that I'm feeling suicidal, but having that person be like a social resource to help you to distract yourself, to feel connected, whatever it
Not
it
be
is.
alone. Yeah.
No.
I think also, on that note, not necessarily having to tell them, but like we do have to identify adults, right? So what I try to do is there, like, we do have to share the safety plan with, you know, your foster parent or your parent. And in that situation, is there like a code word or something that if you don't feel comfortable sharing what you're feeling, they can know that that means that you need to connect with me, and they can schedule like an immediate appointment. Something along those lines where they know that they can reach out to an adult, but also it'll get them connected to us who already know what's going on.
Yep, love that.
Love
I
that.
also will say, not a person, but pets. Kids like pets also. And I feel like those are like a protective factor that we sometimes forget about. And so both for like the self-soothing and also as like, you know, a way of sort of like, you know, connecting with another living thing. So they're not going to tell their pet as a protective factor, but, you know, just not forgetting about their pets. Okay, I'm so sorry. I wanted to leave more time for you all to do your evaluations and for us to sort of wrap up, but I feel like we used the time well. I feel like, you know, you all have really great feedback, and I feel like I just really want to say I appreciate each and every one of you. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I hope that you all have felt that this was beneficial. We are going to put, so Leslie just put the course evaluation in the chat. We're also going to email it to you. So if you, again, because it's, you know, we have 2 minutes, if you don't have time to completely finish it, we understand. But again, we really, really appreciate all of your feedback. You all were so honest and detailed last time. We'd love to see that repeated of that. We will really take it in. We want to make these learning experiences as good as possible. If you're eligible for CEs, instructions on how to obtain your CE credit will send to your email within a week. And we'll be emailing you a course certificate by early December. Thanksgiving is just, you know, delaying us a little bit. Please, if you have not finished all of the course elements and you want your CEs and your course certificate, we're giving you till tomorrow because we know that, you know, stuff comes up. And if there are any issues with that, by the way, please email Leslie as soon as possible. Don't email her about CE stuff yet. Wait until like a week to do that. But if you have issues completing stuff, try to email Leslie as soon as possible. And then, yeah, I just want to, again, say thank you to all of you, and hopefully we'll see you at another course in the future. Nicole, do you want to say anything to wrap up?
Just to echo what you said, Jackie, learned so much from you all. Really appreciated how you showed up and participated and shared. Yeah, really, really enjoyed our time together. So thank you all. Take good care of yourselves.
Yes.
And see you at the next one.